Hi, this is Jason Major from the Biblical Cinematic Universe, and today I'm reviewing the 1923 silent film Salome, which is based on the 19th century Oscar Wilde play by the same name. This was directed by Charles Bryant and stars Ali Nazimova, who was in her 40s at the time, who played Salome in the lead role. And the story of Salome, if you don't know it, in the Bible there was King Herod the Great who met the wise men, and he had a son named Herod who ended up marrying his brother's wife, which was Herodias, and Herodias had a daughter named Salome. And John the Baptist was speaking against this ungodly marriage because it was an affair, and also the utter corruption of Herod and Herodias. And so he was in prison. John the Baptist was in prison, and Herodias, in the Bible, tries to use the fact that she sees that Herod is now lusting after Salome, his stepdaughter, and uses that as a way to manipulate King Herod into trapping him and getting John the Baptist killed. Now, in the Bible, scholars have debated whether Salome was 100% complicit, 50% complicit, a pawn, or whether she was an innocent victim. I tend to think it's a mix of at least a mix of those. She was offered, remember, half the kingdom. So if she was offered half the kingdom, then she was like, "Mom, you're controlling me, and I don't like the fact that you're controlling me. It's kind of creepy that you're using me, when I'm not interested in my stepdad." She could have just said, "Screw you, I want her dead," or something. There's a lot of different ways to interpret it, and who knows? Maybe Salome did get. Biblically, she could have got redeemed in the end. Chusa and Joanna were disciples of Jesus who did work in Herod's court. So there's all different ideas of what could have happened in the real life Salome, biblical Salome. But in this play, Salome is the one with the agency. She's the one with the power. And so the way that this is filmed is that it starts with this backstory. I've seen it in black and white. I've seen it in color with it tinted red. But in black and white, I thought it was much more powerful. It's very dreamlike. It's very much a fantasy, and I like that. Despite the fact that it's very much looks like a stage, it is shot cinematically, like close-ups and everything. It was impressive for the 1920s. The editing shots are within seconds. The music I heard was probably not from the original play, but a modern score that is done in a very classical sense. But it's just one of the best scores I've ever heard this year. And it was amazing just how they used that score to convey emotion and passion. And like I said, it felt like watching a dream because, obviously there's no audio for the characters, but you could hear this character's voices in your mind's eye, right? Very avant-garde costumes. They're not historically accurate. There's a micro skirt which is a really, really short mini skirt for Salome's character. And like I said, the actress was playing her. She's in her 40s. She had pearls in her hair in one scene. And then also you had all the other religious characters and all the other characters in the court are in these really crazy costumes. The captain of the guard looked more like Cirque du Soleil to me. That's how they looked. And so let's talk about the story and what happens in the story. Salome has this "I don't care" expression, and then she goes to go check out what's going on with John the Baptist. And then you have when John the Baptist is introduced, it's with organ music. This is cool. But basically, what happens is she hears John the Baptist, speaking out against King Herod and Herodias, and she's intrigued. Who is this man? And he looks handsome. And then she tries to convince one of the guards. The guard says no. Meanwhile, someone from Herod sends someone to go try and retrieve Salome back to the court. She basically literally steps on him and basically says, "No, I'm not going back." And then that guy, instead of facing Herod's wrath, jumps off a cliff and kills himself. And then this idea of there's a shot of the moon, maybe using cardboard or something, but it's kind of there's this idea of a shadow over the moon conveying the angel of death, which is really cool as well. So Salome talks to the captain of the guard, who has unrequited love for Salome. And Salome doesn't return that love. But what she does is try and seduce him and say, "Hey, if you give me your keys, I might smile at you. I'll smile at you, And so she gets the keys to John the Baptist. And then John the Baptist says to Salome, go seek out the Son of Man in the wilderness. Who is this Son of Man? Is he as handsome as you, Johanan? And they call him Johanan in this instead of John the Baptist because that's like his original name. It's more mystical sounding for the sake of the play. Because there's this contrast between John the Baptist and divine love and Salome, who's divine lust, basically. Well, not divine lust, but ungodly lust, right? And so Salome tries to tempt John the Baptist several times, and by trying to get to appeal to his ego, tries by using rejection. That doesn't work. Nothing works, and so this drives the captain guard crazy. Where he goes like, "I cannot endure this anymore. I love you, and you don't love me, but you love this guy who doesn't love you, and so he kills himself, and then Salome just steps over the body, and John the Baptist is horrified because the shadow of the angel of death is present, and says like, aren't you afraid of this angel of death? And Salome's like, I will kiss you, and then John the Baptist retreats, and that's when King Herod comes in with all his to bring the court more to where Salome is, and says, eat with me, drink with me, Salome, dance for me, Salome. She says no. But John the Baptist, when he keeps preaching against everybody, including Salome, saying, the wanted one. That's when Salome goes like, okay, I will dance for you, because now she's basically mad that she's been rejected she doesn't have power over John the Baptist. And so she does the Dance of the Seven Veils, which is very an artistic expressionist thing, not necessarily historical, but like expressionist, right? And then when you get to like the final veil, it's almost like she's lifting off the veil. It's almost like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, but instead of a butterfly, it's a monster, because she basically uses it like a robe, and she now has queenly power. And then she goes up, and then meanwhile, King Herod, who looks like a clown to me, his face looks like a clown, he's like, I love you, Salome, whatever you want, Salome, like that. And then basically Salome says, the head of John the Baptist, and then he basically tries to say, no, please let me out of my vow, and then she says no, and then he says, okay, fine, he's cowering before her. He says yes, and then the angel of death has come, and John the Baptist is killed, and then Salome is now like clothed in a robe and acting like a queen and acting like she's all powerful, like she's a goddess, and pretend almost like that. And then it's implied you see this like silver platter. You don't see the head, but you see like the silver platter. Supposedly the head's in there, and she puts the robe over it, and it says on the screen like, I've kissed your head. What is love, basically. And King Herod is horrified, and he goes like, kill that woman! and then Salome goes, the mystery of love is greater than the mystery of death. And that's how it ends, with like kind of her getting her due for being evil. This is an amazing movie. It is very artistic. You can look into how it is artistic beyond biblical and historical ways. I'm not here to discuss that. I'm here to discuss the biblical stories in this thing, as well as from a film historic perspective, not so much the other expressions in it. But I found it just a really piece of art history, a piece of film history, and I do give it a really great 9 out of 10, understanding that it would be more for silent film buffs. Thank you, and see you next time on the Biblical Cinematic Universe.